Good morning everyone. Today's class is on primary angle closure glaucoma. So before knowing that, you have to know about primary angle closure disease, which is a broad term characterized by opposition of the peripheral iris against the trabecular meshwork, resulting in obstruction of the aqueous outflow by closure of an already narrow angle of the anterior chamber. So the word glaucoma is used only when there is optic disc changes and visual field defects. So this point we'll understand when we talk about the classification of the primary angle closure disease. So the term primary angle closure disease has replaced the term primary angle closure glaucoma as described by the Association of International Glaucoma Societies in the year 2006. So coming to the risk factor, when we talk about the demographic risk factor, it is more commonly seen between 6th and 7th decades, and it is 3 times more common in females than in males, and it is more common among Southeast Asians, Chinese, Eskimos, but uncommon among blacks. Coming to the ocular risk factors, most commonly we see is hypermetropic eye. It is due to shallow anterior chamber and also the short axial length, and also eyes in which the iris lens diaphragm is placed anteriorly, and also eyes with narrow anterior chamber angle, which may be due to small eyeball, a relatively large size of the lens, smaller diameter of the cornea, or bigger size of the ciliary body, or more anterior insertion of the iris on the ciliary body. And there is something called plateau iris configuration, which will be explained later. Hereditary factors, some predisposing anatomical factors like shallow anterior chamber and narrow angles have been reported as more common in first degree relatives of the patients. So coming to the pathogenesis, the 3 pathomechanisms are implicated in the causation of rise in intraocular pressure of the eyes at risk of primary angle closure glaucoma. They are pupillary block mechanism, plateau iris configuration and syndrome, and phacomorphic mechanism. So when we talk about pupillary block mechanism, it is responsible for causation of rise in intraocular pressure in most of the predisposed patients. So what will be the predisposing factors? So physiological mydriasis. So while reading in dim illumination or watching television or cinema in a dark room during anxiety or emotional stress due to sympathetic overactivity, it can precipitate an attack of acute angle closure. And pharmacological mydriasis, when we take some topical mydriatics like phenylephrine, tropicamide, cyclopentolate, and other drugs like tranquilizers, bronchodilators, antidepressants, these can precipitate an attack of acute angle closure. Pharmacological meiosis, when we put tropical pilocarpine, it is also reported to precipitate an attack of acute primary angle closure. Valsalva maneuver is reported to precipitate angle closure in some predisposed individuals also. So what will be the mechanism? So these precipitating factors will cause mild dilatation of the pupil, which will lead to increased opposition between the iris and the anteriorly placed lens, which will lead to a relative pupil block. So the aqueous collects behind the iris in the posterior chamber. So this will push the peripheral flaccid iris anteriorly, which will lead to a condition called as iris bombae, that is iridocorneal contact with collection of aqueous behind the iris. So there is oppositional angle closure leading to rise in the intraocular pressure, which will be transient, which will later lead to peripheral anterior synechium, which will lead to synechial angle closure. So what is plateau iris configuration? The ciliary processes are positioned more anteriorly, displacing the peripheral iris anteriorly too close to the trabecular meshwork. So when the pupil dilates, the peripheral iris can cover the trabecular meshwork, causing the intraocular pressure to rise. So this condition is called as plateau iris configuration. So this can be managed by iridotomy. So iridotomy is to create a hole on the rim of the iris to allow the flow of aqueous from the anterior chamber to the posterior chamber. So when acute angle closure glaucoma occurs either spontaneously or after pharmacological dilatation in spite of a patent iridotomy, then the condition is called as plateau iris syndrome. So when we talk about the phacomorphic mechanism, so morphologically abnormal lens, that means phaco is lens, and here the lens is abnormal, which can be seen in intumescent cataract, which is nothing but a swollen lens in immature senile cataract due to continuous overhydration. So this will cause a pupillary block, or it may push the peripheral iris forward into the angle structure, which will occlude the angle and precipitate an attack of primary angle closure glaucoma. So coming to the classification, we used to have a traditional clinical classification which was based on the clinical presenting symptoms. So it was divided into 4 categories, that is latent primary angle closure glaucoma, subacute primary angle closure glaucoma, acute primary angle closure glaucoma, and chronic primary angle closure glaucoma. Now we have a more modern system of classification that is based on the ISGEO classification, that is nothing but International Society of Geographical and Epidemiological Ophthalmology, which was proposed in the year 2006. So this classification is based on the intraocular pressure measurements, gonioscopy, disc, and visual field evaluation. So accordingly, we have 3 categories, that is a primary angle closure suspect, primary angle closure, and primary angle closure glaucoma when it is associated with optic disc changes and visual field defects. So coming to the clinical profile and management. Case of a primary angle closure suspect. Here the clinical features we can see are, usually the symptoms are absent in these cases, but the presenting situations will be a suspicious clinical signs on routine ocular examination, or the fellow eye of the patient presenting with an acute attack of primary angle closure in cases of glaucoma screening programs. So we can see these kind of patients. So what are the suspicious clinical signs? There is something called as eclipse sign. So what is this eclipse sign? It can be elicited by shining a pen light across the anterior chamber from the temporal side and noting a shadow on the nasal side. So it will indicate a decreased axial anterior chamber length. On slit lamp biomicroscopy, we can see a decreased axial anterior chamber depth, convex shaped iris lens diaphragm, close proximity of the iris to the cornea in the periphery. And we can also do Van Hendrik slit lamp grading of the angle. So the diagnostic test will include IOP measurement. It usually will be normal in these cases. On gonioscopy, it should reveal an iridotrabecular contact greater than 270 degrees angle and no peripheral anterior synechiae. Ultrasonic biomicroscopy can be done. Anterior segment OCT can be done. On optic disc evaluation, it should not show any glaucomatous changes because it is not glaucoma yet, and visual field should be normal. So impression is the angle is at risk. So how do we manage these cases? We can do provocative tests. That is, in these cases, we precipitate closure of the angle. It is not popular and presently not being performed in patients with primary angle closure suspects. So we have different types of provocative tests. So we have a prone darkroom test. In this test, baseline IOP is recorded and the patient is made to lie prone in a dark room for 1 hour. So he must remain awake so that pupils will remain dilated. After 1 hour, the IOP is again measured. If there is an increase of IOP more than 8 mm Hg, it is considered diagnostic of primary angle closure suspect. So we can also do a mydriatic provocative test. So here we instill a weakly mydriatic or simultaneously a mydriatic and myotic. So it will produce a mid-dilated pupil. A pressure rise of more than 8 mm Hg is also considered positive in this case. So what will be the inference from these provocative tests? Positive provocative test will indicate that the angle is capable of a spontaneous closure, whereas a negative provocative test will indicate that in the presence of an occludable angle on gonioscopy, it does not rule out a possibility of a spontaneous closure. So the patient should be warned of possible symptoms of an acute attack of primary angle closure. So coming to the treatment, we can do prophylactic laser iridotomy. So when there is more than 270 degrees of oppositional iridotrabecular contact, which is seen on gonioscopy in the fellow eye with primary angle closure or primary angle closure glaucoma, we can do prophylactic laser iridotomy. So after that, we have to do periodic follow-up. Next, coming to the primary angle closure. This can again be classified into subacute primary angle closure, acute primary angle closure, and chronic primary angle closure who are usually asymptomatic. So the diagnostic criteria. So there will be iridotrabecular contact on gonioscopy, which is greater than 270 degrees angle. There will be elevated intraocular pressure or presence of peripheral anterior synechiae. Again, a normal optic disc and visual field will be normal. So impression in these cases will be angle is abnormal either in function and or in structure. So coming to subacute primary angle closure, it is actually characterized by an attack of transient rise in intraocular pressure between 40 to 50 mmHg, which may last for few minutes to 1 to 2 hours. So what are the precipitating factors? Physiological mydriasis, like we discussed, physiological shallowing of anterior chamber after lying in prone position, pharmacological mydriasis following use of pupil dilating drugs for fundus examination. So symptoms in these cases will include an episode of subacute primary angle closure is marked by unilateral transient blurring of vision. There will be colored halos around the light, headache, brow ache, eye ache on the affected side. Self-termination of the attack occurs possibly due to physiological meiosis induced by bright light or otherwise. Recurrent attacks of such episodes are usually not common. Next, coming to acute primary angle closure. So an attack of acute rise in intraocular pressure in patients with primary angle closure may occur due to pupillary block causing sudden closure of the angle. It usually does not terminate on its own and thus, if not treated, lasts for many days. It is actually a sight-threatening emergency. So what will be the clinical features? Patient will usually experience pain. Typically, acute attack is characterized by sudden onset of very severe pain in the eye, which radiates along the branches of the fifth nerve. There will be nausea, vomiting, and prostration, which are usually associated with the pain. Rapidly progressive impairment of vision, redness, photophobia, lacrimation also develop in all cases. So, what the signs we see in these cases is the eye is usually white and not congested. That means there is no inflammation as such. So what will be the treatment in these cases? So usually we do peripheral laser iridotomy in these cases. Next, coming to acute primary angle closure. So an attack of rise in intraocular pressure could So coming to the signs of acute primary angle closure, the lids will be edematous, conjunctiva will appear chemosed and congested, cornea will be edematous and insensitive, anterior chamber will show a shallow anterior chamber with aqueous flare with closed angles which will be seen on gonioscopy, iris will be discolored, pupil will be semi-dilated, vertically oval and fixed. The intraocular pressure will be elevated between 40 to 70 millimeters of mercury. Optic disc is edematous and hyperemic. Fellow eye shows shallow anterior chamber and an occludable angle. So what will be the differential diagnosis of an acute primary angle closure? So there will be other causes of acute red eye like acute conjunctivitis and acute iridocyclitis where there will be inflammation, and acute secondary glaucoma like phacomorphic glaucoma, acute neovascular glaucoma, glaucomatocyclitic crisis which will also present with an acute red eye. So how do you manage these patients? So usually these patients are managed by, immediately to lower the intraocular pressure by medical therapy. So we use IV mannitol, oral hyperosmotics, systemic carbonic anhydrase inhibitors like acetazolamide, which is actually the drug of choice, topical anti-glaucoma drugs like beta blockers, alpha-adrenergic agonists like brimonidine, prostaglandin analogs like latanoprost can also be used. The pilocarpine can be used, which should be started usually after 1 hour of the commencement of the treatment. Then analgesia, and you can also use some antiemetics. compressive gonioscopy with a 4-mirror gonio lens, and we can also use some topical steroids. So what is the definitive treatment? So usually you have to do laser peripheral iridotomy or surgical peripheral iridectomy. If it fails, we have to do filtration surgery, which is nothing but trabeculectomy. So prophylactic treatment in the normal fellow eye will be prophylactic laser iridotomy or surgical peripheral iridectomy. Next, coming to primary angle closure glaucoma. So pathogenesis, it results from gradual cynical closure of the angle of the anterior chamber as discussed earlier. So what will be the clinical features in these cases? It can be subacute or acute primary angle closure glaucoma, or chronic primary angle closure glaucoma when the IOP is constantly high or eyeball remains white and painless. There will be optic disc cupping, visual field defects, and the gonioscopy may reveal 270 degrees of angle closure along with peripheral anterior cynicae. So in subacute and acute, it will clinically present similar to subacute and acute primary angle closure. So what will be the treatment in these cases? So we usually do laser iridotomy alone or with medical therapy similar to primary open angle glaucoma. You can also do trabeculectomy or filtration surgery or prophylactic laser iridotomy in the fellow eye. So there is one entity called absolute primary angle closure glaucoma. It is, if left untreated, it can gradually passes into the final phase of primary absolute glaucoma. I mean, the primary angle closure glaucoma, if left untreated, it can gradually pass into the final phase of absolute glaucoma. So what will be the clinical features? Patient will complain of a painful blind eye. The eye will be so painful, irritable, and it may become completely blind. That means there will be no light perception. There will be perilimbal reddish blue zone, that is a slight ciliary flush around the cornea due to dilated anterior ciliary veins. Caput medusae, which is nothing but prominent and enlarged vessels which are seen in long-standing cases. Cornea in early cases will be clear but will be insensitive, but later there will be bullous keratopathy or filamentary keratitis. Anterior chamber will usually be very shallow. Iris will become atrophic. Pupil will become fixed, dilated with a greenish hue. Optic disc will show glaucomatous optic atrophy. There will be high intraocular pressure with a stony hard eyeball. So how do we manage these cases? We can do retrobulbar alcohol injection, which is nothing but we give 1 ml of 2% xylocaine, which will be injected, and after about 5 to 10 minutes we follow it by 1 ml of 80% alcohol. This will destroy the ciliary ganglion. Destruction of the ciliary epithelium. This is done to lower the intraocular pressure. It can be carried out by cyclocryotherapy or cyclodiathermy or cyclophotocoagulation. Ultimately, we can do enucleation of the eye. It is considered when pain is not relieved by conservative methods. The frequency with which a painful blind eye with high intraocular pressure contains a malignant growth will justify its removal. So what will be the complications of this? So there will be corneal ulceration. It may be due to prolonged epithelial edema and insensitivity. Sometimes these corneal ulcers may even perforate. Staphyloma formation, it occurs as a result of continued high intraocular pressure, so that the sclera will become very thin and atrophic and ultimately bulges out either in the ciliary region, that is called ciliary staphyloma, or equatorial region, that is called equatorial staphyloma. It can ultimately lead to atrophic bulbi due to the ciliary body degeneration, where the intraocular pressure will fall and the eyeball will shrink ultimately. So this was about the primary angle closure glaucoma. Thank you so much for your patience here.